50 years ago, 57,450 UN troops lost their lives defending South Korea. Now BBC Two remembers forgotten heroes.
The Imjin River, Korea, scene of one of the most celebrated last stands in military history. On the 22nd of April 1951, British troops defending the hills above the river were waiting. Somewhere to the north, unseen, a massive Chinese army was heading towards them. Just before midnight, a ferocious four-day battle began. This bloody encounter would be a crucial turning point in the Korean War.
I don't think anybody's prepared for anything like that.
Very loud bugles blowing, the Chinese screaming their heads off. Pandemonium, really.
Against all odds, this isolated force defied China's mighty spring offensive.
I'd never seen so many troops in all my life. The hillside was literally covered in them.
One prayed desperately that we would survive. One prayed for oneself, one prayed for the others.
The ordeal did not end on the Imjin. For those taken prisoner, a different war began. Against communist brainwashing in Chinese POW camps. The extraordinary heroism of these soldiers became legendary. But like the events of the Korean War itself, their sacrifice has slowly faded from memory. 50 years on, the veterans of a forgotten war remember their finest hour. In October 1950, the different battalions which made up the 29th Independent Infantry Brigade left for war-torn Korea. They were joining a United Nations force defending the South. Britain was still recovering from the Second World War. Nobody wanted to know about war in a faraway place called Korea. Nobody wanted their sons and husbands to fight again after only 5 years of peace. But Army Chaplain Sam Davies was convinced that Britain should support the United Nations call to resist the invasion of the South by communist North Korea.
Chaplains are not people who bless guns or anything like that. But I still felt United Nations was doing the right thing in trying to defend South Korea from the wanton invasion by the communist powers.
Short of manpower, the brigade had to call up World War II veterans. For these reservists with young families and new jobs, leaving meant only heartache. Trooper Dennis Wybrow was a radio operator on the tanks.
I mean, I'd just been out about 4 years, and I've got a young family and everything. Everything was just beginning to settle in, you know. Got work and things like that, and the more or less the bottom dropped out of my world, really.
Young officers like Lieutenant Mervyn McCord, however, just couldn't wait.
The Second World War had not been over all that long, and I think youngsters of my age, our major concern was that it might be all over before we got there and gave us a chance to do our bit.
For 20-year-old Corporal Derek Hurst, the first challenge was to find Korea on the map.
I had no idea where Korea was until I looked at the map. I don't think anybody had any idea where it was until they looked at the map. A long time ago. And, yeah, we found it.
We were setting out on a great adventure, and we were going to travel through the Mediterranean, down the Suez Canal, and it all was very exciting.
Seeing dolphins or porpoises, whatever they were, in the Indian Ocean from one horizon to the other. Thousands of them. Lovely.
During the 6 weeks it took the brigade to reach Korea, there was a dramatic turnaround in the war. Successful UN counterattacks were pushing the communists back north, right up to the Chinese border. So by the time the brigade arrived in early November, there was even talk that they might be back home by Christmas. But as the 29th Brigade headed up to the front, there came ominous news. A new enemy was appearing in the hills to the north. Here, Chinese reconnaissance units were caught infiltrating across the border. This threat of Chinese intervention spelt an end to any hopes of an early return home. 26-year-old Anthony Farrah Hockley was then adjutant to the Gloucesters.
There'd been some counterattacks in the north, and amongst the people captured were some Chinese soldiers. Now, at that point, I can say, I thought, and I said to one or two of my chums, I don't altogether like the sound of this. It's one thing to be battling with the remnant of the North Korean forces. With the Chinese forces, with the huge numbers that were involved, we were in for a very different war.
Farrah Hockley was right to be concerned. On the 20th of November, over 300,000 troops of the Chinese People's Volunteer Army stormed over the border to support the North Koreans. These Chinese troops were disciplined, brave, and experienced, almost immune to hardship. The Chinese quickly pushed the largely American force south again, a headlong retreat watched by the advancing 29th Brigade. A witness to this chaos was medical orderly Derek Hurst.
Well, there was lots of vehicles going down the road heading south, you know. One place we stopped and we were brewing up, and this American GMC truck pulled off the road, and this is a big cloud of dust. He says, "Say, you guys want to get the hell out of here. The sounds of goddamn chinks coming down this road." Everybody's heading south, like a panic almost about it.
The UN troops then began to suffer terribly as temperatures dropped to record levels, 40 degrees below. Harry Gledden had suffered extreme heat during the jungle warfare of the Second World War. Now in Korea, he experienced the other extreme.
It was so cold, it used to nearly paralyse you, especially when that Siberian wind blew down from the Korean peninsula. We were so cold, we moved like little old men. And we felt like little old men as well. It was so cold, it got through to your bones.
As the Chinese paused to regroup, the main enemy was now the terrible Korean winter. By New Year 1951, the brigade was dug in just north of the South Korean capital, Seoul. Intense pressure was being put on China's leader Mao Zedong to stop the fighting. Some American hawks were even suggesting using atomic weapons to resolve the conflict. Yet, despite the real danger of a Third World War, Mao ordered his generals to attack again. As the brigade came face to face with the Chinese, Mervyn McCord, fighting with the Royal Ulster Rifles, finally got his first taste of combat.
I can still remember